When my dad built our house in the 90s, he made sure to make it big enough for all of us kids and then some. We had 4 bedrooms, which was plenty of space. But there was one room that nobody seemed to remember and no one ever went in. It was like a secret room hidden away in our house with no windows and only a keyhole. The door was always locked, so naturally we were all curious about what could be behind that mysterious door. My brother even said that he thought there was a body hidden in there somewhere. What do you think? Is there a dead person behind this door, or is there something else? Let's go find out together. Before we start, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And let's get started. It's been many years since I've been home. So much has changed. When I walked inside, my little sister was there waiting for me. She was so happy to see me. Then she took me on a tour of our old house to show me how everything has changed now. There were family photos everywhere, so I could see that everyone was doing well. As we walked through the house, we stopped by my old room. Back when I lived here, it was painted a bright blue color, but now it was painted white. As we walked down the hallway, my sister suddenly turned around and asked me if I wanted to see the secret room. I immediately said yes, because I had always wanted to know what was behind that door. My sister walked over to the door, opened it, and I was stunned by what I saw. There was an empty room right in front of me with nothing but cobwebs hanging from the ceiling. But how did she open the door? I remember that door being locked when I was a kid. My sister explained that she used a hairpin to open the lock because she had always been curious about the room too. I couldn't believe she had managed to pick the lock so easily, but at least now we finally got to see what was behind the door. Then I noticed something strange on the ground. There was a circular mark with numbers surrounding it. At first I thought it might be a clock of some sort, but then I realized that the minute hand was pointing to a number that wasn't even there. That meant that this wasn't a clock, but rather some kind of a safe. I looked up and noticed that the wooden panel above the safe had a keyhole in it. I inserted the hairpin my sister used to open the door into the keyhole, but it didn't work. It turned out that the safe was locked tight. I walked over to my sister and asked her if she knew the combination to the safe. She shook her head and told me that she didn't know anything about it. I thought for a moment, maybe my mom or dad knew the combination. I reached for the phone and called them. I told them I was at home and asked if they remembered the combination to the safe. They didn't know what I was talking about and told me to ask my brother. They hung up and I called my brother. He picked up the phone and I asked him about the safe. He also didn't know the combination and told me to ask my other brother. I was getting annoyed because none of them knew anything about the safe. Finally, I called my oldest brother and he picked up the phone. I asked him about the safe, and he said, "Oh yeah, I remember." He told me the combination, and I couldn't wait to try it out. I went back to the room and dialed the numbers on the safe. It clicked open, and I was shocked by what I saw next. There was a gun inside. I never would have guessed that there was a gun behind that door. I felt like I had just stepped into an action movie. The gun was old and rusty. It looked like it hadn't been used in a long time. I took the gun outside and threw it into the grass. I was afraid that if I left it in the house, someone could get hurt. I still had a lot of questions about the gun, but I knew that my brothers wouldn't know any more than what they had already told me. So I decided to ask Mom and Dad directly when I saw them again. A few months later, I went to visit my parents again, and I asked them about the gun. They were shocked when I told them about it. I could tell they were hiding something from me, but they insisted that they didn't know anything about the gun. I didn't believe them, but I didn't press them for an answer. Instead, I asked them about the room. They told me that they didn't know anything about it either. It was very clear that they were lying to me. But why? Why were they lying to me? Was the room used for something illegal? Or was there a more innocent explanation? I wanted to find out the truth. I started by going through all of my old things. Maybe I had the answer I was looking for in my childhood toys or drawings. I found a lot of cool stuff from when I was younger, but nothing that could help me solve the mystery of the secret room. I was about to give up when I came across an old photo album. I flipped through the pages and found a picture of my dad standing in the secret room. It was taken during the construction of the house, which meant that he must have built the room himself. I confronted my dad with the photo and asked him why he built the room. He looked away in shame and finally admitted that he built the room for his mistress. I was shocked. I never would have guessed that he had a mistress. This explained why he had lied to me and why the room was filled with so many secrets. But why did he keep a gun in the room? I continued asking questions, but my dad refused to answer. He told me that I should unknow these things and that I should forget about the whole incident. But I didn't want to forget. I wanted to know the whole truth. And then my dad confessed. He admitted that he had kept a gun in the room in case his mistress wanted to commit suicide. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Why would his mistress want to commit suicide? And why would my dad care? Just then, my mom intervened. She told me to leave my dad alone and that he had done enough damage in the past. She begged me not to bring up the subject again. My dad looked at me sadly and told me to go home. I was confused, angry, and upset. I wanted answers, but it seemed like my parents weren't going to give me any. On my way home, I thought about the conversation I had with my dad. Was he really having an affair? Did he really have a mistress? And what happened to her? Did she commit suicide? I tried to piece together the clues, but I just ended up more confused than before. The more I thought about it, the more I wanted to know. So I called my dad again and asked him about his mistress. He hesitated, but eventually agreed to meet me for coffee. I drove to the cafe where he had told me to meet him. But when I got there, I saw that he wasn't alone. A woman was sitting across from him, and it was the same woman from the picture in the photo album. It was his mistress. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. All these years, I had no idea that my dad was still seeing her. They both looked at me, and I instantly regretted coming. I felt like I had just crashed their secret meeting. I turned around and left. I was in shock. How could my dad hide such a big secret from her? Was he still in love with his mistress all these years later? I didn't know what to think. When I got home, I threw myself onto my couch. I needed to sort out my thoughts. I pulled out my phone and called my sister. I told her that I had seen Dad's mistress and that she was still with him. I could hear that she was shocked on the other end of the phone. We talked for a long time about what to do next. Should we confront our dad, or should we just leave him alone? We couldn't agree on a plan and eventually went separate ways. I still didn't have any answers, but I knew one thing. I would never forget what I had seen. The next time I visited my parents, I brought up the subject of the mistress again. But they both denied that she existed. It was clear that they didn't want to talk about it. And I respected that. I knew that they had made mistakes in the past, but I also knew that they loved each other very much. I decided to accept the situation and move on with my life. I will probably never know what really happened in that room all those years ago. But one thing is for sure, it will always be a mystery to me. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. See you next time.